I like to say that all mentors are coaches, but not all coaches are mentors. So coaching is something that is specific. It is usually focused on a narrow set of skills or circumstances, and it's usually performance-based. How are you doing on a particular issue or skill? Whereas mentoring is something that's much more developmental. So it's much more focused on holistic growth. It's much more focused on overall development, and it's very goal-focused, as opposed to coaching, which is about how do I improve my performance on a specific thing. Winston Churchill said the price of greatness is responsibility. And I think he meant it in terms of society, but it's really important in terms of individuals as well. Really, the first step in creating effective mentoring is to accept responsibility as mentor and to accept responsibility as mentee. The mentor is responsible for the investing in the mentee's growth, for co-creating the relationship with the mentee. The mentee, in turn, for co-creating the relationship with the mentor and for his, her, or their own individual growth and development. Oftentimes, mentoring is the first time a mentee feels that they were given permission or space to invest in their own growth and development, and that requires accepting responsibility for making that change. I like to think about each individual as having their own iceberg, and that iceberg is their identity. And just like an iceberg, there's a small bit that's above the waterline that's visible, and there's a whole lot more that's below the waterline. So things that are visible may be things like your gender, they may be things like your race, they may be things or assumptions we make about your cultural background, but they're things that are visible. But there's a whole lot more like values and motivation and bias and privilege and religious beliefs and generational orientation that are below the waterline that affect your view of the world. And so what's really important in getting to know somebody authentically, in mentoring or otherwise, is to really start to get curious about the stuff that's below the waterline as well as the stuff above the waterline. I love this idea of cultivating curiosity, and it's really sort of become much more in the dialogue about leadership in recent months. You know, it's about asking questions. It's about wondering about different perspectives. It's about digging a little bit deeper about how this resonates with somebody and why. And it's about creating the space and the safety to ask those questions as well, because it's very hard to get curious about something that impacts a way of thinking if you haven't created that safety and trust as well. So I would say a precursor to curiosity is creating safety and trust. I think it's important both for mentor and mentee to do the self-reflection. So for mentor, it's about why do I want to enter into mentoring? If it's just about ego, try something else, right? But what do I have to give, right? How do I like to teach? How do I like to learn? And what am I willing to give? And what am I willing to receive? For mentee, what are my goals? Why am I in this? What's the best fit for me if you get to choose your mentor? Or how do I relate to my mentor if it's somebody to whom you're assigned? But really taking the time and having that self-reflection so that when you show up in the mentoring relationship, you have the sense of self-awareness so you can create bridges across the relationship. I remember early in my career that I used to say, how can I succeed? And they said, just be really, really good at what you do. And that's important, to be really good at what you do, but it's not enough. There are two other things, image and exposure, that influence your success. What is your exposure to opportunities? What is your exposure to other ideas? What is your exposure to people? And what is your image with those people? And that is 90% of the pie, right? The P, so if there are three elements, PIE, performance, image, and exposure, the performance piece is 10%, the rest is 90%. So it really matters much more so that people can focus on your performance if you can increase your exposure and your image.